In early 2024, the world stopped. A single announcement from Buckingham Palace sent shockwaves across the globe. King Charles III had been diagnosed with cancer. Not a rumor, not a headline exaggeration, but a reality no crown could shield him from. At 75, after waiting longer than any heir in British history to become king, Charles had barely settled onto the throne when fate delivered its cruelest test. A routine medical procedure, a discovery doctors didn't expect, and suddenly, the monarch of the United Kingdom was facing the same fear millions face every day. This was no ordinary royal update. It was a moment that stripped away ceremony, titles, and tradition, revealing a man, not just a king. How did this diagnosis change the monarchy forever? What happens when the most powerful symbol of stability confronts mortality? This is the story of King Charles III, his illness, his resilience, and the battle unfolding behind palace walls. Stay with us. In early 2024, the world paused when Buckingham Palace released a short but powerful statement. King Charles III had been diagnosed with cancer. The announcement was brief, carefully worded, and restrained, yet its impact was global. For the first time in modern British history, a reigning monarch publicly acknowledged a battle with a life-threatening illness while still on the throne. At 75 years old, King Charles had waited longer than any heir in British history to become king. His reign had only just begun, and now, unexpectedly, it faced its first major test. The story began quietly. King Charles had entered the hospital for a routine treatment for an enlarged prostate, a condition common among older men. The palace initially reassured the public that it was not cancer-related. However, during that procedure, doctors noticed something else, something that required further investigation. Tests followed. Then came the diagnosis. While the palace did not disclose the specific type of cancer, it confirmed that the king had begun regular treatment and would temporarily step back from public-facing duties. Behind the controlled language lay a deeper truth. The monarch was now confronting his own mortality in the most public role imaginable. King Charles has never been a traditional monarch. Long before becoming king, he spoke openly about mental health, environmental protection, climate change, and alternative medicine, topics once considered inappropriate for royalty. Now, his illness placed him in another unfamiliar position, a symbol of vulnerability. Unlike earlier eras when royal illnesses were hidden or denied, King Charles chose transparency. By making his diagnosis public, he broke with centuries of royal secrecy and opened a conversation that resonated far beyond palace walls. Cancer, after all, is a disease that touches nearly every family. Even as treatment began, King Charles continued working behind the scenes, reading state papers, holding private meetings, and staying engaged with government affairs. The crown does not pause, even when the body falters. Yet the strain was evident. This was a man who had spent decades preparing for kingship, finally wearing the crown, now balancing chemotherapy sessions and medical appointments with constitutional duty. It was a reminder that beneath the regalia and tradition stands a human being, aging, fragile, and facing the same fears as millions of others. The illness also cast a spotlight on the royal family itself. Queen Camilla became a visible pillar of support, stepping forward to represent the king at public events. Prince William quietly took on more responsibilities, while the nation observed a subtle shift, an unspoken rehearsal of future leadership. At the same time, the diagnosis reopened conversations about Prince Harry, family reconciliation, and the personal costs of royal life. Illness has a way of clarifying what truly matters, even within the world's most scrutinized family. Remarkably, the announcement was met not with controversy, but with overwhelming empathy. Messages of support poured in from world leaders, cancer charities, religious figures, and ordinary citizens. Many praised the king for speaking openly, noting that his disclosure encouraged men, especially older men, to seek medical attention early. In a time of political division and royal skepticism, the illness humanized the monarchy. It reminded the public that power does not grant immunity from pain. King Charles's cancer diagnosis became more than a health update. It became a cultural moment. For a monarch whose reign emphasizes service, sustainability, and compassion, this chapter added another layer: shared humanity. By continuing treatment while remaining engaged, The king embodied resilience rather than denial. The palace emphasized optimism. Treatment was ongoing. Prognosis remained private. But the message was clear: the king intended to fight. As King Charles continues treatment, questions remain. How will his illness shape his reign? How long will he remain active? What does this mean for the future of the monarchy? Those answers will unfold with time. What is already certain, however, is this: King Charles III has redefined what it means to rule in the modern age, not through conquest or command, but through honesty, endurance, and quiet strength. In facing cancer publicly, he did not diminish the crown. He made it more human. And perhaps, in doing so, he reminded the world that even kings must bow, if not to history, then to the fragile miracle of life itself.